Hola! Today, we're going to be reviewing los pronombres de objeto directo, direct object pronouns, which I often refer to as DOPs, and we are going to be learning a little bit about pronombres de objeto indirecto, indirect object pronouns, which I refer to as IOPs. You'll need to make sure you take accurate notes, that you complete the practice activities, and that you also have me check your work when you're asked to do so. Please also make sure to listen to some of the tips that may help you figure out what's what. If you're someone who's really visual, sometimes underlining, highlighting, circling can make it a little simpler for you when you go back to rewrite a sentence. You're not having to look again and find out where the direct object pronoun is if you have it accurately marked. A lot of you got really good at doing that back in the winter, and so I'd advise you to start doing that again. Anyway, let's get started. So first off, we're going to start off with a brief review of the pronombres de objeto directo, as I call the DOPs. We're going to review them quickly here. Starting off on the first page, you need to remember that the direct object, or DO, in a sentence, we're talking about something that could be a noun or a pronoun for the beginning, is the person or thing that directly receives the action of the verb. And so if you're trying to find the direct object in a sentence, you're going to be working on figuring out que, which is what, or quien, which is who receives the action. And for our purposes right now, you're going to really be looking for an item, not a person, as a direct object. You may occasionally see a person, but it's going to be very infrequent. So the direct object pronouns that you'll be using the most often will be the ones that refer to it or them. So make sure you keep that in mind going forward. You should pause the video now, and at the bottom of la primera página, página una, take a minute to look at examples A, B, y C. You see, for example, letter A, yo pedí mofongo. You want to find out que pedí yo, what did I ask for? There's only one thing left in that sentence. So what you want to do here is simply write down what the direct object is of each sentence in the blanks provided. And once you believe you've done that and have it accurate, raise your hand. Remember once again that the direct object is not who does the action. It has nothing to do with the verb. It's completely unrelated. So once you think you've written down the direct object of the sentences for A, B, y C accurately, have me check over your work, and once we've figured out that your information is accurate, you're going to move on to página dos. Okay, so now we're moving on. You need to remember that a direct object pronoun, or DOP, is a pronoun, at the top of página dos here, that can replace a noun that is the object of a sentence. You will note that the English of each direct object pronoun is written for you in boxes, and you need to write down the Spanish. For me, we have me. For the informal you, we have te. Him, her, you, or it, lo or la, lo masculine singular, la feminine singular. And remember, it was you were informed that we'd be focusing really on the it here a lot. For us, it's nos. You all, in España only, is os. And for you all or them is los and las. And remember, we were also focusing a decent amount on them. So you're going to see that los and las there. For your purposes, the direct object pronouns are usually going to be in front of the conjugated verb in a sentence. There are some of you who may know how to use them a little differently. And if you believe you do, then by all means, just show me and we're all set. But having them in front of the conjugated verb of a sentence is definitely a consistent way to start going about this year. Before you try the practice activities, what we're focusing on really this year is finding the direct object in a sentence and replacing it with the direct object pronoun. You need to remember that we're looking for who or what, and in most cases here, what is receiving the action. You'll notice that in the examples uno, dos, y tres, what you're working with here, the sentences are identical to A, B, and C. So if you look back at the first page, A, B, and C, you'll note that you already have the direct object. Hopefully, if you've had it checked, it's been verified that it's correct for you. If you're someone who's really visual, It may be helpful for you to circle, underline, or highlight the direct object in the original sentence to help you remember it so you don't have to go back and search for it when you're rewriting your answer. And also, once again, a reminder that when you rewrite the sentence, you want to be certain that you put the direct object pronoun before the conjugated verb as a separate word. You want to pause the video again, do números 1 a 5 on página 2, and have me check your work before moving on to the indirect object pronouns. Okay, we're going to be moving on to los pronombres de objeto indirecto, which are indirect object pronouns. These are only on página 3, keep that in mind. The indirect object of a sentence is the person or the people or the animals who indirectly receive the action. And so these are to whom or for whom an action is done. In a lot of sentences, and you'll notice in the examples as well, that the words you're looking for to indicate the indirect object are a, and then you'll see someone's name or something like a mí, a ti, a él, because a means to, and then for, para, in this case P-A-R-A, and then someone's name or someone's job title, para ti, para mí, etc. An action is done. Remember, these are always referring to people or animals. It's important for you to remember that the indirect object of a sentence will never actually be an object or an item. It's not a thing. It's always a person or an animal, something with which you can interact. So it's a big difference from the direct object pronouns. You will, however, note also that the indirect object pronouns are very similar to the direct object pronouns. The only difference is being the bottom two on the chart, which you already actually know from using gustar and verbs like that. It's just that they've never really been introduced to you in this way as an indirect object pronoun in all likelihood. So what you need to make sure you write down is that to or for me, me, to or for you, te, to or for him, her, or you is le, to or for us is nos, to or for you all in España only is os, and to or for them or you all is les. Just like with the direct object pronouns, you should put these in front of the conjugated verb in the sentence. Once again, we're focusing on finding and replacing them in a sentence, and you're looking at to whom, a, and then someone, or for whom, para, and then someone. And you'll usually find these words really towards the end of a sentence. You may find sometimes a direct object before an indirect object. You want to make sure you circle, underline, or highlight the indirect object in the original sentence to help you remember. And once again, a reminder that when you rewrite the sentence, you want to be certain to put the indirect object pronoun before the conjugated verb and to be consistent on that point. Now, you're done with the video. You want to complete the 5 examples at the bottom of página 3. And please make sure that you have me check your work before moving on to the practice activities. Gracias.